you? So what have you bought? What have you bought again, Gary?
Oh no, I just bought only because all the comments on this item were so ecstatic. It's a box on Amazon. It's a white box. If you go to search for Amazon James Bond collection, it's the first thing that'll come up.
Yeah.
It's $55 for all 20 for all the movies except for
I paid
the
90.
most recent one. And everybody's saying that the remastering, the audio video is like over the moon. And so I
really
thought, well,
good.
I'm not going to
the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
That's the,
I bought the one before it. I like the packaging.
Keith and I both have the one from 2012. You know, the gold one.
That's the one.
Does this improve the white box? You got the white box.
The white box.
Yeah, I got that for about 40 quid.
Yeah, I got the white box. I'm like,
does it improve on the 2012 one?
It's really good.
No, I think they're taken from the same remasters of the 2012 one, I believe. Having said that, apparently they announced this morning that the Sean Connery 6-film collection is due to be released on 4K in the coming months.
I saw that, and I saw the artwork as well, but they haven't got a date on it yet. I don't think of that.
The higher the resolution gets, the cheaper they look.
I think they're aiming for the anniversary, but yeah, Gary, I had that. So it's the remasters are amazing. So Keith, I've seen the original and I've seen those. I don't think they're new scans, but I'm pretty sure they're new masters because there is a slight difference. Because the 2012, those are based on the original scans for some of them that were released around at least this is region 1 in 2009. I think some of them are actually encoded VC1. So I think when they re-released it, and it's an amazing set, but it's got the most unimaginative cover work I've ever seen.
That's fine with me. I mean, it's basically what $2.50 per movie. I mean, come on.
I paid $100, but I got it from Canadian prices. Got it for myself for my birthday. But yeah, I think they're new scans because I had the original release of Goldfinger, which I think it was either 2008 or 2009 in Region 1, and I think that's the same one they included in Bond 50s. I've since gotten rid of it. I did a comparison, and there is a difference. So I think they're new scans. Probably not new film transfers, just new actual masters.
Right. But Keith, I don't want to divert us to Bond talk from what Dan has planned, but I got to ask Keith, why didn't they put Never Say Never Again in the Connery 4K set? That's not that bad of a movie. There's some good stuff.
Do you remember the court case a couple of years ago?
It's got to be separate.
Okay.
Look up James Bond, that movie, and rights issues, and that's your answer.
Yeah.
Do you think owns everything now?
Do you think in the coming years that the set that Gary's just purchased and the white one that you've got, Lee, do you think that will become known as the broccoli era?
Well, maybe. If it can, look, James Bond's only going to continue if it keeps being James Bond, right? They got. I hate to say it, you got to cast a white straight bloke, right? Or at least somebody who isn't like. I'll go for that. Although I always think he's Dan Dare. He's always struck me as a good Dan Dare.
James Bond should be black-haired in his late 40s, early 50s, and it should be set in the 1950s and 60s.
Well, I like
What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about the talk that I've heard more than once in articles I've read the last couple of weeks? All the Brosnan talk. People are saying Brosnan should come back, but he should be M.
I love that.
Brosnan's
in Mobland right now. Freaking awesome.
I was about to say that the guy is absolutely terrifying. I've just seen the trailers. I'm like,
really good.
You mess with my family, you better pray. I'm like,
he was great. He was great in Steven Soderbergh's Black Bag as well recently. That's a great film, by the way.
Yeah, that's on my list of stuff.
What was the one? What movie are you talking about, Chris? What was the one you just mentioned? Where he's
no, that's a TV series he's on right now in
Mobland.
Mobland on Paramount Plus. Well, and what about his performance in Mamma Mia and his amazing lyricism?
The guy is like Dorian Gray. He's Dorian Gray.
And for the record,
he's aged really nicely. I think they could. I think the Bond franchise could handle a TV version based on the book set in the classic era, like Lee likes. I think they could handle like a main franchise. I think you could have an old James Bond film franchise as well, headed by Pierce Brosnan. Like where like he's retired and he comes out to like rescue M or something. I don't know. There's so much you could do.
I love the idea of him playing M. But not that I don't like Ralph Fiennes, but obviously I think that all of that cast are going to disappear into history now.
I will. I will
50%
50% agree with Rabbi. So I like the idea of so the continuing Bond franchise may be placed in the back in the 60s, which was my recommendation. I am cool with a secondary side project with Pierce Brosnan as Bond. Don't let Daniel Craig anywhere near that franchise again. But we'll do bring back Timothy Dalton too. Do like I don't know, James Bond.
Yeah.
But here's I do not want to see James Bond as a TV streaming series because wokeness aside, look what it did to Star Wars.
No,
James Bond,
it's a film franchise.
It needs to be big event movies every 2 to 3 years. That's what it needs to be.
It's an event film serial. And
quite
honestly, it shouldn't be a broccoli era. It should be that's the real James Bond era. End of story.
But we don't know until we see that.
I'm calling it.
I do have to say, I wouldn't mind if Amazon's going to go crazy. I wouldn't mind if they did like an office type sitcom set in Q's lab.
That would be awesome.
Great.
That would be awesome.
In all sincerity, I've always fancied.
Who would you cast as the new Q?
I've always fancied the idea of a Q department at TV. I've wanted this for years, since Spooks and Hustle and that brand of UK show. So I know we're going back about 15, 20 years now in that kind of vein.
Would not a Bond TV show, not a TV show set in the Bond universe, not featuring Bond, dilute the brand like it did to Star Wars?
This is what's going to happen, isn't it? Unfortunately, it is going to get diluted beyond all recognition at some point.
It's going to be. Will it be screwed over the Star Wars, or will it be treated?
Oh, yeah.
I think if it's localized and if it tells stories that you couldn't possibly tell in the Bond world, but with that same kind of tone, then I think it'll be fine. If it feels like it's something of purpose, if it's something that's laced with agenda, well, of course we'll sniff that out instantly, and so will the general public.
You just pick what you. It's like with all these things, you just pick what you want from it. As long as they keep James Bond 007 as a white British straight male, and those are movies that come out every 2 to 3 years and are big spectacles. That's fine, as long as they don't mess with you.
And Keith, no dicking around as well with like 5 years. They should always have, when there's one in the cinema, they should have another one in the chamber, pretty much ready to go into pre-production. So they can guarantee they've got to make a commitment. Even if one doesn't do that well, they've got to have a commitment to a pattern of them.
Minimally 3.
That's what
I agree.
Do.
And to make each one better than the last, whether any of it gets shot down in flames or not. And even if the initial actor that they choose initially isn't that well received, stick with them, work with them, develop them in that role, and commit to it for like you say, like 9 to 10 years. That's what I would.
Like I always say, like I keep saying, that the showrunner is absolutely key to the success of this now.
Yeah.
Well, so it isn't the same people doing the Rings of Power.
No, it's not the same people. And they just fired. What's the name?
Jennifer Salke.
Very good.
They fired her.
Jennifer Salke, yeah, she's gone.
What do you think of Amy Pascal and was it David Hemming?
I think they've both got they've both got the credentials. They're not what you instantly think of when you think of espionage, spy, action films. However, when you look at their track records, I mean, David Heyman has got a huge track record in the UK, not just the Harry Potter films, but also, Paddington and,
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, is he behind those films? Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. So he's done loads of good stuff. And then Amy Pascal, regardless of what you think about her, she did the whole Spider-Man deal with.
I think she did a good job with that.
Yeah,
I don't
she
really
did
think it's her
Spider-Verse and
fault.
all that. So
See, 20 years ago, I don't know if you remember this, Keith, but Amy Pascal's name was Mud 15,
remember
20 years
that.
ago, because she was the one who insisted that Sam Raimi put Venom into that third Spider-Man film, which most people hated.
that
And
did
got
suck.
bullied for it.
But now, but now we're all these years on, and considerably more damage has been done to franchises and movies and projects than just popping in, overburdening it with an extra villain. It seems like small potatoes to complain about now.
Exactly. Some people blame Avi Arad for that, though. I mean, there's conflicting stories. Some say it's Pascal,
he's nuts.
some say it's Arad. But, you know,
He was
with Amy
barking, Matt.
Pascal is just a word of warning. Her first big production credit is a film from 2016 called Ghostbusters. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not all good.
9 years ago
Just had
now.
a shiver.
Is it
going
too
on my
much to
spine.
ask? Is it too much to ask for a man to run a male franchise?
Yes.
It seems
Yeah.
so.
I mean,
Well,
can't we
again,
just
you
have
got
one?
David Hemming there, so you didn't go. I don't think if you mash them together, David Hemming and Amy Pascal, you get like something quintessentially British with on a big budget. All right, that a big budget screen, which
Well,
I
that's
think
not very British to have a big budget anyway.
We've had Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli, so maybe these guys are kind of stepping.
People
into those shoes and saying,
love those Paddington films. I can't imagine a set of films in the last 15, 20 years that have been more British than those.
Exactly.
They've got families into cinemas, probably for the first time consistently since the Harry Potter series, I'd say.
As long as they hire
exclusively.
As long as they hire good writers and a good director to bring this vision to life, and of course cast Bond properly.
Exactly.
That's right.
Those three things, then we're in good shape, I think.
And limit studio interference.
Yes, yeah.
Unless they know what they're doing.
Bring in some big guns to sort that out and issue. Somebody can sort it out. I'm sure.
There you go.
Oh yes, and here's a happy note before we go. So that image you just showed, that's what our entire election in my country has become. The liberals are now ahead in the polls. Polyev has failed.
Oh right, because they hate Trump.
That's literally what our entire election is about now. I'm in hell. But on a happier note, Scream Factory announced something, a bunch of re-releases. Yay! But
That's
Arrow
Scream
Video has a really nice set of Dark City coming out. So
I know. I pre-ordered that.
I'm
Yeah.
still
Matt
waiting
Potts.
for the pre-order to come
Very
out.
underrated film. Absolutely.
Although I'm mad at Arrow Video needs to do something about their extras because they've had 2 extras in a row where they're mentioning phallic symbols. And that'll be a story for another time. Yay.
Oh god! You see, I'm very much a Panasonic boy as well, Lee. I'm
Oh!
generally speaking with you, but when it came to upgrading my television, I ended up with the was a Hitachi or something like that. I can't remember, but because Panasonic don't seem to make Toshiba. Sorry.
Toshiba.
Panasonic don't seem to make screens anymore.
no,
But I'm very
do.
happy with my Panasonic player. I'm tempted to get this new Sony player when that comes out, Chris, after what you've said. Look at that.
You just wait. Okay, just give me a sec here. Edit
Oh,
audio,
dear.
Avatar.
Okay,
gotta
we
come
have
back.
people watching already. We've gone on our customary preamble as ever. If you're watching out there on Rumble and YouTube, we have to be. There's somebody there. I can see you. So if you're watching, buckle up. There's a lot to get stuck into as ever as we take off and hit whatever it is we're going to hit over the next however long. So slimmer up.
I gotta get this letter to Tuscaloosa or an innocent man's gonna hang. I need the fastest rider you got.
That'd be me. But I don't ride no more.
Can I get sparkling water? I am so dry.
Guys, can I help you?
Oh, no, I'm good. He's got me. Thanks.
Can we cut?
While we're standing around like this, why don't we have a little chat about the script?
Yeah, it's a bit weird. You know, if you want to get a message to someone, you just send a text. This is the 21st century, Val.
No, it's the Wild West. I can't really use my phone now, can I?
Well, of course you can. I mean, wow, he really is impossible to work with, isn't he?
No, I'm not. Now look, the film is not about the message. It's about the man and his journey delivering it. You take away that and you take away the heart of the story.
Okay, everybody, let's go back to ones. We're gonna go right into the danger zone.
Yes, look up, look out. It's the Spacebook Live rubbing out your week in geek for Saturday, the 5th of April 2025.
I'm not rubbing out anything.
Oh, it's the last day of term. It's getting to the spirit. Out there entertainment on YouTube and Rumble with a crackpot panel of pop culture pundits as ever. Here we are. Yes, you already know who's here, don't you? We've got Gary Akers, dressed for success, dressed for the summer.
Yeah, this is my it's our season finale, so this is my vacation shirt.
Very swish, very swanky, my friend.
That's right.
Welcome back. We've got the mighty Bolstrek, our friend Chris, over the other corner, waving the flag for Sony. Hello, mate.
Oh well, I got to put my friend back here just a sec. As we all know, over the course of the year, we've been covering the adventures of Professor Dinkle's coke addict cousin Frank. Nobody wants to help Frank. Donkey Karen has canceled him. Nobody has donated to his GoFundMe, and he now doesn't know what to do. So somebody please give Frank some support, because the situation with the ICE detainees has become desperate.
Right.
So hashtag help Frank.
I'll send him some ointment.
It's too late for
he looks somewhat wired, Chris. He looks somewhat wired.
Oh, wouldn't you be?
Send him some curry
You
sauce.
don't know what they do there in prison. Why is there somebody holding a bag of poo as your avatar?
Oh God, you still got that?
Okay, so we've got we've got the one and only Lee. Problem being there in the bottom corner. I can't quite work out who it is from this. We're gonna have to make it large because it looked a bit like, I thought it was Elliot Page.
Oh,
well, ironically, it's shit in a bag.
Oh, I see.
It was during the lockdown times.
Why are they holding shit in the bag? I don't understand.
It was when Texas had their deep freeze and the plumbing froze like 4 years ago, and people had to poop in bags. That's what that is.
I was quite happy.
Keith's thinking, why do I do this? Why do I come on this show? Welcome back to Keith Niles from Home Media Minefield as well, our Bond expert and the only legitimate actor amongst us as well. Good to have you back, mate.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here. Always grateful to be invited. So thank you.
And last but by no means least, the rabbi from another planet, the one and only, the biggest of voices on YouTube. Good to have you back as well, sir. We've got it all covered. Well, near enough. I say all. We've got whatever comes out covered, haven't we, from across the world of geekiness in movies, TV, physical media, nostalgia. And I forgot to tell you that I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. Welcome back. We're on mission, everybody. We're on mission. Earlier on, yes. So in the interlude there, that was Val Kilmer. Everybody, Val Kilmer passed away on April the 1st at the age of 65, as I'm sure you've all seen. It's no secret that the man hadn't been in the best of health for a number of years. He'd been suffering. He suffered with throat cancer around 15, 16 years ago, didn't he? But had continued to sort of to work, and he'd made documentaries and things like that.
He had a cameo in Top Gun, didn't he?
Yeah, Maverick.
Apparently so.
Film, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite a moving scene, actually.
Yeah.
To be fair.
And he was. Last thing I saw him in is, what was that show? Life's Too Short, the Ricky Gervais show. That's a long time ago now.
And apparently, at CinemaCon this week, Tom Cruise gave a very moving tribute to him in front of the crowd. Tom Cruise, because he was there promoting the new Mission Impossible, and he got up on stage and talked for a while about Val Kilmer.
Bless him. Obviously, Val Kilmer was an American actor, initially a stage actor. Didn't he graduate to the Juilliard School? At the time, he was the youngest ever pupil they'd got, or something like that. But he found fame as a leading man across genres, I suppose. Firstly in comedies, and then sort of segueing into sort of family blockbuster movies. I think I first saw him in Willow as Mad Martigan there. But it continued to evolve for Val Kilmer, didn't it, over a 15, 20, 25-year period until he was blighted a little by ill health. But he's a fascinating character, wasn't he? And someone who I always enjoyed seeing. You never really knew what he was going to do next. And yeah, I'm really sad that he's no longer with us. As I said,
I like that that little advert you showed there. He was a bit self-deprecating because obviously he had quite a reputation for being difficult in Hollywood, wasn't he?
Right.
That's an understatement.
So him addressing that is quite good. I like.
If Val Kilmer had never made any other movie other than Tombstone, he would still be regarded as a legend.
Yeah.
Top Secret, love that film.
If he made less movies, he'll be regarded as more of a legend.
So, as you know, I'm not a westerns guy. When did Tombstone come out? I've never seen this one, but it's very
It was 1993, I believe.
Oh, that was 93. I thought it was earlier.
Yeah.
Well, let's not forget he was also Batman.
He had the best lips for Batman.
And in some ways, it is it's because he was expected at one point to be like a Tom Cruise type of movie star, but that really didn't end up happening. He did Batman Forever, which actually I like that movie. I
love Batman Forever.
Twice.
Genuinely love it.
But I think it's then he did Island of Dr. Moreau, and that movie has become infamous, and there's like documentaries made about it. And then after that, his career really did fizzle out. I don't think The Ghost in the Darkness, he was in that. That's actually a really damn good movie. I think that was 99. But yeah, by the beginning of the 2000s, his career, at least, Jim Morrison.
The Doors, yeah.
I remember
that was one of the high spots of his career.
It was a Smash Hits magazine article on it, or one music magazine. I can't remember. It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
It said that his performance as Jim Morrison, who was more like Jim Morrison than Jim Morrison.
Yeah, I've got a few fantastic facts about his career here to hand. And although I had remembered this, apparently when he was making the Doors, they had members that Morrison's old bandmates there, the surviving members of the Doors, were there whilst he was making it, and they were attending recordings of key sequences, like the live shows that they actually put on, and they said they couldn't tell the difference between the vocals that Kilmer was laying down and those of Jim Morrison himself, someone who they'd extensively worked with for all that time. He really committed.
What are you talking about?
Well,
apparently
they couldn't.
They're very distinct.
Keith's got the 4K. He must be. Is that one of your favorite movies?
Well, it's one of my favorite Val Kilmer performances for sure.
Yes.
I think it is my favorite one.
And it was actually the film. I was a big fan. I had a poster of this up at the time as well. It was the film that actually introduced me to the Doors. I wasn't familiar with their music until that film. And I find this a lot. Film is often my gateway into many things, many other art forms and cultural things and whatever. But this is actually a Region 1 DVD from early 2000s, which came out
on the Artisan label, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, long defunct.
Yeah. But I mean,
a lot good about that movie. Ray Manzarek. What's his name? Carl McLachlan's Ray Manzarek was really good.
Yeah,
that really.
He was great. And I've always been a apologist of a very unpopular opinion, but I've always liked Batman Forever.
It's a fun movie.
It's not bad.
And I liked his performance as Batman. I mean, I have to say, Batman and Robin is a different story. That's terrible. But I always thought Batman Forever got unjustly maligned by people.
Even though he and Joel Schumacher did not see eye to eye, they had a very fraught relationship again, because Schumacher too was known to be difficult to work with. So you put those two guys together, of course, there's going to be problems. Kilmer himself was the one who declined to return. He was offered Batman and Robin, but he said the part just didn't interest him anymore. He'd found the experience empty. He said, which is a pity, I suppose, because I thought he was great in it.
Well, I think he saw the script too, which was pretty close to the absolute dumpster fire they made. But I find with Batman Forever, there's a lot of revisionist history there because of Joel Schumacher. It gets lumped in with Batman and Robin, but they're very different movies. With Batman Forever, it was a very different vision than what Tim Burton had in the first two movies, and there was some blowback for that. But I watched, I loved it. Like the first week it came out, 95, goddamn, 30 years ago now. I saw it twice. I've got it on Blu-ray, still haven't gotten on.
It was very much more in the sort of Batman and 60s kind of era.
Exactly.
Definitely had one foot in that world, Lee. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I thought it straddled the line quite well because it still. It was lighter, obviously, than the Burton verse, but at the same time, it still had. I mean, that whole image you've got there, that sort of backstory thing that they did with Bruce Wayne and the Bat and whatever was I thought really well done. So yeah, I liked it. And let's not forget the same year, Heat. What a wonderful!
That was
that's right.
Movie.
Yeah,
man, that's a good movie.
That is a masterpiece.
Heat is one of those films you forget that he was in because there's other big names in it, along with things like True Romance, with a great movie, Alexander, which I know some people don't like, but I thought that was a lot of fun, and The Saint as well, from also the mid to late 90s.
Underrated movie. I was just going to say The Saint.
Who directed that one, Gary?
That was
Simon West or Philip Noyce or one of those.
It was Noyce. It was Philip Noyce.
Yeah. Again, a good commentary on the.
Elizabeth Shue was good in that too.
Oh, she's great in everything. The image that we've got on screen is from the notorious sequences that were excised from Batman Forever. You've probably heard the story. There's a 3-hour director's cut that Joel Schumacher left behind in his vault of Batman Forever that a pressure group is desperately trying to get released even now. I mean, I'm not sure.
I want to see it out of curiosity.
I'd like it. I'd like to see it.
A lot of the footage is out there, isn't it, Keith? And, we've got some of it on screen now for people to see who aren't familiar with it. But Kilmer I think he really was trying to mine for something worthy of his talent in the entire thing. I think you can see his frustration a little on screen, but the solemnness that he brings to Bruce Wayne and Batman, I think it's just the right side of fun.
The movie.
I'd like to see Batman return to that. I know it was a thing at the time, still is.
Yeah,
isn't it? But I'd like to see a return to that sort of format for Batman, a bit, a lot more comic book and a bit more light and fun, because I think I'm a bit tired now. I just recently finished watching the Nolan trilogy yesterday, and I really enjoyed that again because I hadn't seen it for a while. But I was thinking, well, when they brought back, the Batman, we're treading the same territory again. I want something new. I want to go back.
I was really bored by the Batman.
I think the problem that they've got.
Really good movie.
I think part of the problem that they've got, Rabbi, is because a lot of us, like comics devotees, can get, not so much you and I think we're a bit more laid back than a lot, but a lot of them get very intense about it. They want it to be deadly, deadly serious. But the thing is, the general public, I think they like a serious side and tone to the Batman movies, but they also like them to be fun as well. In the same way that they like both things from Bond. But I don't think that you could put a literal translation of Fleming's Bond into cinemas and have people react to it in the way that I think that some believe that they would. I think they'd find it quite stiff. And it's the same with Batman. If you don't have that kind of exactly what Lee was talking about, that element to it, then people won't have as much of a good time. And these movies should be a good time. I think Batman Forever was a really good time.
That's so cool. I love that.
To me, I think for all of these movies in any iteration, anybody can fit in the suit. To me, it's what they do with Bruce Wayne that really sets the movie apart.
Anybody can fit in the suit. That's how we ended up with Batwoman or woke Batman, which are still some of my.
But you know what I mean. It's like in long shots when they're fighting. It's the stunt guy or whoever, but the movies make their mark based on how each actor interprets Bruce Wayne or finds some new angle.
What I'd like to see is
hands down, best cinematic Batman is Ben Affleck. Unpopular opinion.
Actually, Rabbi, I don't think that isn't unpopular. I think
that
the opinion more is. His Batman was perfect. His movies were terrible, and that had nothing down to him.
Like him.
His Bruce Wayne was fantastic.
Yeah,
the director's cut of Batman versus Superman is a lot better. I agree.
I love it. It's excessive, but I do love it. I mean, Val Kilmer didn't just turn down Batman and Robin. He also turned down, get a load of this, he turned down Patrick Swayze's role in Dirty Dancing because he didn't want to be perceived by the general public as a kind of hunky pin-up style actor. He turned down Kiefer Sutherland's part in Flatliner, so pretty much the lead of that. He turned down Clint Eastwood's part in The Line of Fire. He turned down David Lynch twice. He was offered the lead roles of both Dune and Blue Velvet. Both of those went to Kyle MacLachlan eventually. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, the stuff that this guy is known to have turned down.
In terms of things that he did, another great film in his filmography, I think, is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the Shane Black film with him and Robert Downey Jr.
Oh God, I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah,
I have it on Blu-ray. It's still in the shrink wrap. Maybe I'll watch that tonight.
Big favourite of mine, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I'm glad you mentioned that. That was nearly 20 years ago, Keith, would you say?
Crazy.
Bloody hell. 2005. Yeah,
damn.
It was, 20 years ago. Shit.
And a great
Robert Downey Jr. or a not coked up Robert Downey Jr.
Looks very coked up.
It was literally just before. It was a few years before Iron Man, wasn't it? So it was his kind of almost comeback film.
Yeah, he did a period as an almost no-name actor when he was sober. What was that? He was on Ally McBeal.
Ally McBeal, I was just going to say, yeah.
God.
Yeah,
I actually first saw him in Real Genius, which is great. He was great in that.
I've never seen that. I've seen Top Secret. I suppose
it's kind of a
everybody's
college comedy, but a very smartly written one.
It seems like the kind of film I'd enjoy, so I'm not sure how it managed to pass me by, but it has.
And of course, a bit of a left field thing that he did in terms of voice acting was he was actually the voice of Kit in the reimagined.
No, what?
Oh yeah.
In the revival, right?
I liked that.
Yeah, 2008, I think it came out, and it was kind of like a sequel reboot type of thing to Knight Rider with Michael Knight's son, and the Kit was a what was it? A Mustang in this version.
It's a muscle car, wasn't it?
Val Kilmer is a Mustang Shelby, and Val Kilmer did the voice of Kit, which again was a really odd choice in some respects, but he made it work.
Of reboot sequels to things from the 80s, I saw the trailer for the new Naked Gun movie, which I thought was very good.
Oh, with Liam Neeson.
I don't think that could possibly be a good
You know what? I love the trailer. It made me laugh. And it was definitely set in the Naked Gun verse. They reference like Liam Neeson appears.
Yeah.
He says, "I'm Frank Drebin, Naked Gun," and he looks at the camera. The new version, all right, and then you have him
He's good at comedy.
Yeah. Then you have
great actors are there, aren't they?
Father, which is a picture of Leslie Nielsen.
That's sweet.
And
is
it was
Seth MacFarlane doing this? Sorry, because Seth MacFarlane the director?
It really looks very funny.
Oh, okay.
I think one thing, he'd been sick for a while before anybody knew it, and then I think the first time we saw him talk when he had the trach and he couldn't actually speak, we're like, holy crap! And it's and he was pretty young too. I think he was in his early 50s when he was diagnosed. Although one thing that he was known for is being a chain smoker. I think you see any photograph, he's holding a cigarette, which it's scary how quickly that can happen. And here's my soapbox again as a former multi-pack a day smoker. Do not smoke, kids. It's very bad.
I'm on the vapes now.
Good for you, Lee. Okay, so all my years of lecturing have paid off. Everybody, hand of applause for Lee. He picked up something.
A lot better being on the vape.
Okay, can somebody help me out here? I watched The Island of Dr. Moreau, and I don't remember hating it. Nor being
never seen
it. Opposite to the source material.
Rabbi, what you have to watch is the making of.
Yes,
there are documentaries like
it looks like a nightmare.
This is
a total nightmare.
Yeah. The making of Island of Dr. Moreau is considered to be the biggest shit show in movie history. I think Val Kilmer,
Brando.
Brando and his Big Mac.
Terry Gilliam one lost him in La Mancha with the first film version of The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. I never saw the final one they put out.
And apparently, the bad behavior between both Brando and Kilmer, it was like they were trying to one up one another all the time who would make
Well,
who was going to
yeah.
make the most outrageous demands.
Because
it got
Brando was very well known to be incredibly difficult. So do you think it was like a difficult off? You know,
It sounds like it.
Apparently so.
Well, that's largely believed to be what ultimately derailed Kilmer's career. And it was mainly the Island of Dr. Moreau because, yeah, I checked Ghost in the Darkness actually came out earlier that year, so it was the same time. But yeah, that basically derailed his career because he became infamous, but it was all of them. I think they'd quit the movie multiple times. I think Val Kilmer moved away. Nobody could find him. The director was frequently seen.
Wait, who was the director? He did. Was it the guy who did Hardware?
Yeah,
he did one really good indie hit, I believe, and then this was his first big movie.
Well, apparently this movie broke him. They would find him crying in fields on set,
right,
and stuff like that. And I think both Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando at various times had disappeared. Nobody could find them. Apparently when they went to edit this thing, they just had a jumble of crap to work with. And the fact that they actually managed to get anything even remotely comprehensible, the editors of that film need an award. But yeah,
I agree with you.
Because John Frankenheimer replaced Richard Stanley, didn't he?
It was Richard Stanley. That's who it was, right?
Yeah,
it was just
right
very good indie sci-fi hit Hardware,
about
which was an adaptation of A Thug's Future Shock. That was like 4 pages long, but really good. Lemmy is in it. Have you ever seen it, Hardware?
Yeah,
many years ago. Yeah,
I love that movie. Yeah, it was his only good movie, I think.
Val Kilmer. Talk about nightmares. Val Kilmer had a bit of a nightmare when if you remember, he was married to the gorgeous Joanne Whalley.
Oh, Joanne Whalley.
He met on Ron Howard's Willow, and apparently, unsurprisingly, his behavior. I think he was pretty open about it in his later years about the lessons learned. His behavior kind of pushed her to the limit, and he found out about his own divorce on CNN whilst he was in somewhat of a stupor in a hotel room. So the first thing he knew that he was getting divorced was seeing it on the telly, and he just described it as no fun at all. Characters like Val Kilmer, I don't know if he was the last of a breed. I think he was one of a particular breed, like the late, great Michael Hutchence, people of that nature. I suppose at least Kilmer was alive long enough to learn a lot of lessons and to raise his children, be part of their lives, and apparently he even got on a even keel with his ex-wife as well. But maybe we'll see the full cut of Batman Forever one day, and it's an ideal opportunity as well to go and revisit some of those movies that we liked, such as Heat, such as Tombstone, such as The Saint, all the little things there that we'd either forgotten that he'd made or the stuff we'd always meant to get around to, isn't it? And I think a lot of people in the live chat too here on Rumble and on YouTube feel the same way as we do. Stephen Braddock said, I thought Batman Forever was really good, very different to the first two, but feels that it went too far with that fourth film, which obviously, again, Kilmer wasn't involved in that at all. So lot of happy memories there of the 90s and great movies that are always worth a revisit. I've no doubt at all.
And don't forget,
I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. With Scotch's lifetime guarantee. Take what you want both night and day. Then re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not fade away. Re-record,
if it's Scotch, it's guaranteed for life.
That was my grandmother's favourite advert.
It was everybody's favourite advert, although it won't be Keith. I managed to cut Keith off again. So what were you going to say, Keith?
Oh, no, it was just finishing up on Val Kilmer. I was going to say, and don't forget, he actually played Elvis in True Romance.
True Romance,
yeah, he was great in that.
Really see him, but yeah.
To play both Elvis and Jim Morrison. I mean, I'm the same as you, Keith. I do love music, but and one of the things I like about music biopics so much is that through music biopics, I've gotten into artists that I would never have liked otherwise. I mean, one of my favourite all-time movies is Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix in it. And I'm not a Johnny Cash guy, don't like that kind of music usually, but because I sincerely, it's one of my top 10 favourite movies. And so now I kind of like Johnny Cash, and I listen to it now and again because of that film. And the Doors wasn't quite like that because my brother had been into the Doors a little in the late 80s, so I had heard them, but I didn't get it until I saw the film. So yeah,
this is why film is such a powerful medium, because it can open you up to other art forms, whether it be literature or music or whatever.
I would love to see a biopic of Fleetwood Mac. That would be incredible, because that is one hell of a story.
Mm-hmm. So would I, actually. Have you seen that show that Amazon had on last year?
I want to see a biopic of Rod, Jane, and Freddie. That'd be wild. Do you know who Rod, Jane, and Freddie is? There's this really weird show, right, called Rainbow, and it had in it these two puppets, George and Zippy. And one was the voice of the Daleks, wasn't it? I can't remember.
Roy Skelton. Yeah.
And then you had this like big teddy bear man called Bungle, who I think was also a voice of the Daleks. I was not sure. And a clearly gay man called Jeffrey, right, who wore dungarees and had blonde hair. And then you had these three people on that come and did weird dance presentations called Rod, Jane, and Freddie. So that'd be it. Yeah, and I believe they're all having weird sex with each other.
Menage a trois, yeah.
Well, Jane married. Jane was initially Jane during the show. Jane was married to Rod, and they got divorced in the 80s, and she eventually did marry Roger. Yeah.
Oh, not Freddie. Oh. Freddie didn't get a look in, did he? No. Did
you never know.
His name? Was that what happened?
Dropping truth bombs here from the distant past on the Spacebook Live. Yeah, thank you to everybody who's joined us across this last, how many episodes? Nearly 30 editions of this show since we sort of relaunched it last year. We've kept it coming most weeks, even throughout Christmas. And yeah, I really do sincerely, I'm really grateful for everybody who's joined in the comments and shared the show and been enthusiastic about it, tucked away here on a really quite small channel, which means we can get away with saying all sorts of things. But we have, yes, we've become, as well as the coverage of movies and the TV and physical media and retro stuff, we're also somewhat of a haven for all manner of bigotry and misogyny. But we do have a reputation, I think, for bringing lots of laughs to some cold, hard truths and some great recommendations as well, based largely on the knowledge, the depth of knowledge of all the panelists here, the people who are here on this edition of the show, and those who've joined us throughout this run. So thank you to everybody out there and who's joined us on the panel as well. One fixture that's been here as well since the relaunch has been our trek through public information films as served up by Chris here, from a place where nobody does it better, I think, than Canada when it comes to these things. You told us all about them some time ago. I didn't know whether to believe you or not, but you've delivered each and every time, my friend. So thank you for all of this. And we do have another cracker to come on this show, haven't we?
Hello, everyone. So this week in the wonderful world of my country, I've been saving this one. So this one is fairly notorious and poses a couple questions, which I will clarify after we view it. This one is called How to Bring Down a Party, or Thank You Grandma, or Who Invited Auntie Downer. So yeah, Dad, just roll it and yeah.
The preamble.
Oh no.
It's all chicks.
What is that? It's a rape whistle.
God.
Oh my God.
Bloody hell.
What?
The Canadian Women's Foundation, moving women and girls out of abuse and poverty and into confidence.
Where did they get that?
Dan, just play that in the background. So a couple questions. One, why is the girl smiling with the whistle? That was a decision that was made in editing. That was directed. That was, I'm going to have you smile with this whistle. The other one, which many people raised questions about, is the statistic offered right there on screen. Which, yes, we know it's a problem, but my higher developed brain just clued in. I'm like, I don't think it's a 50% problem, because that would make Canada the most dangerous place in the history of danger. You'd be better off in Saudi Arabia if that was the statistic. And people had asked, where did you get that statistic? And to the best of my knowledge, that has never been answered. But yes, so that is that like I said, that commercial is absolutely notorious.
They feel that statistic must be true. That's it. Yeah. Once they feel it must be true, it must be true.
No, they know it's not true.
But they feel
a great many of these are very sobering to watch. Even by our standards here in Britain, they've got a particular tone. And yeah, it's hard to sort of put your finger on it. I mean, what do you think it says about your national mindset, Chris? Because they're so it's not that they're humorless, because it's not in the mission statement of these things to make people laugh, but they are so grave.
It's
so
like
dry, so dour.
This is a thing of Canadian society, and some of these actually are still going on. I've got some when we return, even more.
I can't wait.
Disturbing things, but no, this is what it's like. When I talk about what we might say brainwashing in some ways in Canada, but no, whenever you had a commercial break and they would play these during Ninja Turtles. I'm like, they would play these at all hours during the day, and it was constant. I think every commercial break at one point in the 2000s had one of these commercials. So
really,
it's we're a really messed up country, which probably explains why we are where we are now. So,
Chris, for the next batch, Chris, I'd like to request some more construction site videos. Those are always a big laugh at the construction sites.
I think my favorite is the restaurant one. I mean, I think we may have to do an omnibus edition of all of the things that all of the films that we've had so far, just to relive some of these greatest hits.
What was that movie? Was that little short? Was it trying to encourage women to have rape whistles or encourage men to rape women? I can't tell what was the message.
Rabbi, the thing that mystified me for the first time I saw it is, why is that girl smiling at the whistle? Like the young girl, and that's like, it's not like this was a candid video where this is actually happening. This was directed. Somebody made the decision, looked at that cut, and said, "Yes, let's go with that."
Okay,
it's like something out of a jam sketch,
right? Even more disturbing. From like a year ago, I've seen a promotional video for Cardiff, or so, that's some little village in Wales, where they saying to like Muslim migrants, these like little 12-year-old schoolgirls, come here. We understand how hard it is to be a migrant. We'll do anything to make you feel better. Like little schoolgirls saying that. It was really disturbing. Right?
Well, at least with the whistle, like if nothing happens, you can go to Pride March.
There you go.
They might need to jazz it up a bit though.
And then something's certainly going to happen.
I mean, surely if it's a R-word whistle, surely you should make it, I don't know, bright luminescent green or glow in the dark or something you can easily find quickly, because black is not going to be easy when you're rummaging around your handbag.
Yeah, it's weird to go.
You don't want to stealth rape whistle.
Stealth.
No.
Well, Auntie Downer. I don't think she's the old lady who we call Auntie Downer is one of the most depressed people we've ever seen. That is one bitter lady. Holy crap.
Chris, your finest moment for me so far has been the falling off the ladder into the glass display case. I don't think
that's fantastic. Yes.
That's the kid. That was the Workplace Safety Insurance Bureau of Ontario.
Yes.
They are, they are the kings. It's a tie between that and all the ladies getting punched in Alberta.
I think that was possibly my favorite. Look, you're not going to want to miss more of those, are you? So make sure that you are subscribed and notified when the Spacebook Live does return here. You can relive some of those fabulous live streams from before. Evergreen content, I'd like to think, including our review of Section 31, which I think a lot of us have only just recovered from. So you can go and catch up on those live streams here on the playlist, as well as the public service information films as well. Absolutely excellent stuff. Yes, this is the Spacebook live on YouTube and Rumble. Join the mission, everybody. Streaming right now, Saturdays from 8 p.m. UK time, and keep your eye on us here for when we do return. Okay, what next? And who else? Yeah, let's have a bit of misogyny.
Oh, you got me walking side to the side.
You know, Dan, at first, and I'm not kidding, I thought that was Charlotte.
Charlotte would never be so
I really
stupid.
did.
It wasn't Ariana Grande. That's
No,
for
you know,
sure.
it can't be Charlotte because that girl is a dumb fuck. Not Charlotte, the girl on the bike.
I've done that.
I bet you have.
Yeah.
Was it a Sony cycle?
No, it was a Panasonic, and then it caught fire, just like their plasma TVs did. And then they ran away from the entire North American market because they knew they couldn't compete with Sony, and their TVs sucked. So good riddance.
Okay, I got to ask both of you. I have an LG. Is that bad?
Yes.
I like my TV.
LG's good.
Yeah, bin it.
No, I like it.
They used to be bad, but I think they got their game.
Good.
Dan, did you remember my rants about my LG 4K player that I replaced?
Oh, I remember.
Oh yeah, LG. Sounds
another song.
Life's god awful because you bought an LG, it blew up, and you had to replace it. Then you went broke. But it could be worse. You could have bought a Panasonic plasma TV, and it caught your house on fire, and you lost everything. And insurance wouldn't cover you because they say people who buy Panasonic TVs are no longer liable or allowable or eligible for our insurance because Panasonic sucks.
Well, so does your country.
You know that.
Lee, you're in England, mate. I mean, you're not far behind.
I know,
That's
but
not an
like
insult.
Canada
We know that fully well. We would. You can't. I say that myself. So yes, thank you for reiterating that. Yes, I live in hell, and Panasonic is crap for their TVs. I will say their Blu-ray players are okay, but their TVs, because you couldn't buy one in here in North America for 10
you can't
years.
buy one there now. You don't know how good they are now. You see.
Wait. Isn't what's the Progressive Party, whatever the Prime Minister's name is? It doesn't he say if he gets in again, he's going to ban all Sony and only have Panasonic?
No, we don't.
I think that's a campaign promise of his.
Mm-hmm.
Sony is Japanese. Canada isn't declaring war on the Japanese. They're declaring war on the U.S. Yes, that's a thing, people. That's actually a thing.
Didn't your prime minister turn around and say?
Obviously,
turn around and say that he was going to be the new leader of the free world or something.
The rightful king of Canada is, of course, the Shat.
Yes.
But until
a good Jewish boy.
Until that moment, obviously our thoughts are very much with you, Chris. Our thoughts and our prayers. We're going to get into the discussion now. Keep the comments coming, everybody. Thank you to everyone who's joined us so far. There's a lot to discuss, as always. Hope it doesn't leave you cold. Okay, let's have some more of, I think, another one of these. Where is he?
I need the fastest texter you got.
That'd be me. But I don't text no more.
Uh-oh, Val's lost that love and feeling.
I send emails. Picture attachments.
Ice is down. Somebody get me Maverick on the line.
They got a lot of mileage out of that, didn't they? Yes, so we're all pop culture devotees here to one degree or another, pulled into geek life by similar things from roughly the same period in media history, I think. So coming in, though, on any storied history has always had a degree of discovery and exploration and a question about it all, hasn't it? I remember, for example, we talked about James Bond earlier on, and I remember watching James Bond movies on a bank holiday, and I couldn't quite work out, firstly, how there were so many of them, and why it was different guys playing them. So which ones had come for all that kind of thing. It took me a long time to put all of that together. For those who had come before us, before the explosion in sort of event cinema like that, I'm not sure it was the same for them. It probably has been for those that have come afterwards, because obviously with the 80s came the rush of the emblem kind of movies, Indiana Jones and big franchises and things like that. But the thing is, I mean, a lot of it in this day and age is so easily searchable, I suppose, because it's all online. So people don't have to sort of scour libraries for books and things to find out information. It's all largely there on the smartphone, isn't it? As with anything, though, that is by its very definition popular in popular culture, it's bound to change, isn't it? With the times, sci-fi has had its time in the sun 2 or 3 times over, I think, hasn't it? And there's in fits and starts, I think, largely sort of driven by technological advancement, either in what was what they were capable of as regards sort of color and the width of a screen, and then it happened again sort of with special effects and sort of miniatures and electronics, and then again with CGI. And I'm sure that'll happen again too. But other genres and subgenres have kind of had a lot of gathered dust now and again, haven't they? But sort of found their way back, like the Western. So things are bound to change with the times, but there are pockets of all of these decades, pockets and folds that whole projects and people and movements can and have sort of got lost in, I think, particularly if others in positions of power are willing it to be so. And you talked about this last week briefly, didn't you, Chris? You believe that that's happened recently as well, didn't you? And there are certain patterns to what you described as the lost era of film.
It's well, this had only occurred to me recently, but also because we're only a decade away from the end of this era. But film history and trends in film, especially trends in horror, but trends in film in general, has always been a particular fascination of mine. And now I think we can very clearly identify what I will call is the lost era of film. And, just to give you an example, just eras of film we've had before, I'll just give you a quick rundown of what the eras of horror have been since the 70s. You had exploitation horror of the 70s. You had slashers and teen slashers of the 80s, late 80s, or 78, starting with Halloween, then going up to the early 2000s. You have the death of traditional horror and the psychological thrillers of the early 90s, Silence of the Lambs, Seven, things like that. Then you have the emergence of teen horror with Scream in 1996. That fizzles out by around the early 2000s. Then we're into what I call remake hell, but because we know of remakes now, but there was a time 20 years ago where everything was remade. It just wasn't woke. And then for the horror genre, we go into what I call the lost era film. Now, what I am identifying as this new lost era film is the era right before everything went woke. And I will time frame, I'll say from the very late 2000s, maybe 2008, 2009 to 2015, definitely being dead by 2016. So this is everything that was deemed popular in various genres that was completely cut off when everything went woke. And there are a few trends, like there was the young adult movies, which probably weren't for our demographic, but I was bored the other day and I inherited the Divergent trilogy.
They're very watchable, weren't they, those films?
The first one is, but then they get worse. But the thing that I noticed is the complete devoid of wokeness. But then in horror, you have found footage, which you were getting dozens of those made a year, and then those just completely stop around 2016. You can just look it up on IMDb. In terms of comedy, you had the Judd Apatow and Apatow-like comedies, which would be cancelable now, completely recognizable from anything that would be made today. So adult comedies, those get cut off. I think the last one I remember seeing was Game Night, which came out in 2018.
Yeah, that'll be a movie like There's Something About Mary, right? That'll be one of those movies.
Yeah, although that would be a little bit early because that was 98, but similar. I think that was the first major movie in the genre.
I think there's a resurgence in horror though now, isn't there? With Smile 2, Terrifier. I think they seem to be creating a new genre, don't you think?
That I'd call that the current genre. Well, there for horror specifically, after all this ended, and horror went woke a little bit later. It was started in 2019. Now, horror has been spared what, especially science fiction, was where absolutely everything went to hell. Well, mainstream horror, mainly Blumhouse, became woke and unwatchable.
Oh yeah. Oh.
All the smaller stuff, A24, Neon, independent horror was, that was still there. So we were a little bit lucky in that respect. But throughout the 2000s and early 2010s, you had what I'll call adult horror, where they had we were done with the Scream style teen horror that was done. We were largely for a while done with the remakes, so we went into this phase of adult horror that's very similar to what we would have seen in the 70s series like Insidious, The Conjuring, something that was more indicative of general atmosphere.
And that's what I noticed. Those patterns, Chris, because that sort of that line of movies, I wouldn't exactly describe it as a sausage a sausage factory, but they all came sort of thick and fast, and but the imagery all traded on the fonts and the mood of the 70s, didn't it? I don't think it was cannibalizing them in any way. I think it was doing it in a positive way, and I think and science fiction's done that too, hasn't it? In bits and again in fits and thrillers too. I think for a time there were lots of filmmakers coming along, for example Keith, that were trying to emulate, quite literally in the case of Gus Van Sant, trying to emulate people like Alfred Hitchcock and things like that. Kenneth Branagh tried a very Hitchcockian thriller, didn't he, in Dead Again in the 90s. So this is something that we do. This is something that we do see, but I think some of these phases incrementally push genres on. Some of them they just exploit them in the way that the slasher thing with the Scream movies, and I know what you did last summer. They really did flog that.
They had to, because by that point horror was dead. Traditional horror died in the very early 90s, because I love slasher, but there were slasher films, but there was I've got hundreds probably on my shelf from the late 70s through the very early 90s. It was done to death. But I think now, like I said, the lost era ends around 2015, 2016. We've got the woke era from hell, where everything went to hell in mainstream horror. Like they managed to make Insidious go woke. I said that last week. I couldn't quite believe it. But now we're into we are a new era of film, I would say, is starting right now, because woke has died, and I think it actually died with Snow White, because there's no way you could spin that positively.
That was the final. That was the final thrashing.
More woke stuff coming.
Well, no, there's woke stuff that was.
There will be, but none of it will be. It'll be brushed under the carpet now. I think that there's something about that film.
It's stuff that's in development, yes, but even. Like what you were saying earlier with horror specifically, we're into a slightly new era where I think that the woke era, which luckily it took over like the highest production budget films, but didn't touch everything else. But those are done. But now I think we're back into an era of extreme horror, similar to say when Torture Prawn became, I won't say that word because it will get Dan in trouble. Was another stream of the 2000s, but I think now we're going to what
Lee's just mentioned the Smile films. Lee's just mentioned the Smile movies, and that's the first sort of horror. I mean, you mentioned Terrifier, and people do talk to me about those films, but I think that something like Smile, that's the first thing that somebody sort of outside of geek culture has mentioned to me. I said, "Oh, I really like that. Oh, there's another one of those out." That seems to have broken through. So I think the fact that Lee sort of picked up on that, I think that was.
You had that little spell as well of what they were calling sort of post-elevated horror, which was like your Robert Eggers and your Ari Asters and those kind of horror films that sort of fit. I guess A24 has kind of taken on that mantle now a little bit. Would you say, Chris?
Yeah, A24 is probably my favorite horror studio, and for those of you who don't know, A24 does not make regular straightforward movies. Their movies are weird and they're awesome, but A24 it's a cult studio, but it has a massive cult following.
So wait. So where does a movie like was it Neil Jordan did a vampire movie, not Interview with the Vampire. It was a few years later with Gemma Atherton, which was in the Bond movie.
Yeah.
Byzantium.
That's the one. So
Yeah.
where would that fall? Is that a horror movie? Is that it's weird? It's got vampires in it, sort of.
Gothic romantic horror.
Yeah. Okay,
It's
there
like
you go.
that
See, I'm
film
glad
that
you could
Dave-
categorize that. I really.
It's like that film that David Bowie and Catherine Deneuve made. Is it called The Hunger?
It's like that.
The Hunger,
not
yeah.
that.
Well, and Chris, remember that we heard all about all those big plans for the revival of like the Universal movie, and then the Tom Cruise Mummy movie came out, and then it died, and that was it. All of it was
Alex Kurtzman killed it, didn't he? Basically,
and the sad thing is that was the second time to do that in less than a decade, because they put out what was it?
Dracula Untold, wasn't it? Was it Dracula Untold?
That was the first.
yeah, I like
actually, no, they've tried 3 times to recreate it. The first one was in the early 2000s with Van Helsing. That was supposed to relaunch the universe. That
was
flopped.
quite good.
It's awful, Rabbi. It's terrible.
Watch it. It made me chuckle.
Well, they tried that. Then they tried that again. So yeah, that was 2004, Van Helsing. Then they tried that again a few years later with Dracula Untold. That died. Then right after that, they decided to do The Mummy. That was an absolute disaster. Then they've had a little bit of success with Blumhouse. One of the few good things they had when they came out with The Invisible Man, and I still haven't seen Wolfman, although I intend to.
The temptation, the temptation with this is to put it all down to the dreaded culture war, isn't it? But I think some of it is down to pure and simple cowardice as well, Rabbi.
Yeah, I was going to say, is the Wolfman the Benicio del Toro one?
No, that was 2010. No, this is the one that came out earlier this year.
Another another toxic male father role model who becomes a Wolfman and attacks his family because, of course, it is.
I decided that with the Wolfman, I'm going to give it an honest appraisal because I did like The Invisible Man, even though there is some wokeness in there because it was made right in the middle of woke hell. It has some good ideas. I think it was a well-made movie. So I've decided, and I know everybody hates The Wolfman, and I will report when we come back. I want to watch it honestly and see if there's any redeeming characteristics to it. Because I will give it a chance, but what I've heard hasn't been great, but we'll see. But if that's woke, that will be the end of that trilogy as well. Well, not trilogy, series of films, but now we're back into Smile. We're into Terrifier. I think they may have waited a bit too long to bring that back. I'm a little torn on the trailer. To be honest, I'm not
I
sure
saw the poster for that the other day, and I thought it's very interesting that now, of all times, they're bringing that back. I know that just before we went live as well, a trailer for the new Tron film has also been released, which again is those are masculine, they are male-led movies from my memory.
Gillian Anderson in it, I noticed as well. She's in Tron area.
But you associate them with I'd say Star Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean. They've got those kind of, I think they Blade Runner. They've got that appeal almost exclusively to men.
I do well. See, I think the other thing that we're seeing, Dan, and this may be a force change, similar to what it was almost 20 years ago now. The remakes and sequels, everybody is burnt out on them. I don't think it really matters what you come out with now. Nobody's going to want to watch it, even if it is non-woke, even if it's good. I think audiences are going to reject remakes and sequels. And honestly, the first Tron movie is perfect. They didn't need Tron Legacy. I don't think they need one now. And what I really hope is for like all these franchises, some of them to never be seen again. We know which one I'm talking about. And some of them to go away for a long time. I want to see.
You see what I mean, though, Chris? When something is in production hell for an extended period of time, and then as if by magic, it slips. It's sort of broken loose. It's okay for us to make this film now, market this film now, because something has changed.
I loved Tron Legacy. I saw that in 3D at the cinema, and I thought, wow. I mean, it it's a very, people will be divided on it. I understand that. People are purists with the original Tron movie.
I know a lot of people who love it.
But I love Tron Legacy, and I know the story didn't need to happen, but I still enjoyed it. And I think it's the first time I've been excited for a Disney movie in about 10 years. So I'm quite interested to see if it's going to be any good. It looks, the trailer looks great. So I'm just going to, for the visuals alone, I'm quite happy to sit there and watch it,
Well, you also have to look. Tron Legacy came out. I think that was 2000. Was it 2010? And it was about 50
and still no
years ago.
4K release. Seriously?
It's Disney, dude. It's Disney is not doing
Disney
4Ks
don't
with
like
anything.
home media.
Earlier on, we talked a little bit about Bond, of course, and regardless of how we feel about what may or may not happen with Amazon, I think we had the impression, the rabbi's spoken about it several times on his show, I know, that the previous rights holders, Eon, Barbara Broccoli, and Michael G. Wilson, were sort of waiting things out for the right time. Stars could be aligning there. Of course, it didn't quite happen for Quentin Tarantino with his plan to bring back Pierce Brosnan and make Casino Royale, if you remember. Maybe they'll hit up Quentin again, and some projects that hit the skids years ago. Maybe some of these may actually come to fruition. I don't know. It does make you wonder, because that Tron, third Tron movie, that's been sat there for a long, long time, and other projects as well, I've noticed, have all of a sudden been jolted back to life across all manner of different genres.
If they had any sense whatsoever, they would get Quentin Tarantino to do like a mini season, like 6 to 8 episodes of Star Trek. He said he wanted to do a Star Trek a while ago. I think I think he could do something really cool set in the 60s, like as if it was made in the 60s. You could have Leonardo DiCaprio in it, playing his character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, guest starring on the show, being beaten up by Lieutenant. Was it?
Call it Pulp Trek.
Well, I think he would have so much fun doing, and that wouldn't break his 10-movie rule, right? I just reckon it'd be a lot of fun.
Do you think fun is on its way back, Rabbi?
Yes, big time. Do you see the Superman thing? Looks awesome. Looks fun.
You know what? I've deliberately, and you know how pumped I am for that movie. I've deliberately not watched it because, as I understand it, it's 5 minutes of the entire movie, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to see this anyway. I've been waiting however long. I've seen some stills, beautiful. But I think I'll wait.
Okay, it's genuinely beautiful.
I'm quite excited for it, to be honest.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Just seen some various stills, but I think fun coming back and audacity coming back. Yeah. I think the willingness to scare, looking at horror, the willingness to scare and unsettle people, to float sort of concepts that people may not be comfortable with.
I just want originality, but the thing that I am excited about is we're back to one of the mainstays of horror is franchise horror, but like good franchise horror, not the crap we've had recently. But we do have, like, I think Art the Clown is up there with Freddy Krueger in terms of like Definitely. Horror villains. Like those 3 movies. Those are 3 of the best horror movies I've ever seen, and if you're squeamish, do not watch it because
they get worse, don't they? It just gets gorier and gorier. Although I think the second one was probably had one of the most horrific scenes I think I've ever seen.
I love horror. I've never seen anything like terrifying, like the intestines on the Christmas tree scene, and that isn't the worst thing that happens in that scene. That's just one example.
Do we imagine, with the culture changing again, not drastically as such, but with this sort of feeling that things are starting to pick up maybe creatively where they left off? Do you think that things that were curtailed, not just sort of sequences of films or stuff like Tron or whatever, but kind of movements and things that were left a little half finished and didn't maybe reach the end of their natural life? Do you think that some of those could be dusted off as if nothing had ever happened? Those Judd Apatow films, for example, Lee.
I think with things like Terrifier, which was originally an independent production.
It still is.
Yeah, and I think if you've got the big name studios and all this, if they sort of back these independent filmmakers, That's where you'll find the creativity, not from within the Hollywood elite. Really, I think they're done. I think they're dinosaurs. I think they need to move over and just invest in new talent from elsewhere. That's where you'll find.
Is that what you think? Well, Keith, because obviously you keep a really close eye on the comings and goings between different studios. I think Lee's right. Independence, the successes from independence, both based in America and globally, from lots of different countries now, seems to be more a thing, more something that happens with increasing regularity.
No, absolutely. I mean, I agree with everything sort of Chris was saying specifically about the horror genre. And obviously now, we've got like A24 and Neon companies that are coming out with more sort of independent, interesting productions. Obviously, Blumhouse, even though they've done some good stuff, they have had some missteps. They had sort of this whole thing with allowing David Gordon Green to completely destroy the Halloween franchise. Unfortunately, they pulled him off of The Exorcist after that one terrible movie they did, and they've now got someone, Mike Flanagan, who's decent at horror. It's going to have another go at that. So I think you're still going to get a little bit of both, but I do agree that it does go in cycles, and definitely the sort of independent, whether it's Terrifier or the works of Osgood Perkins at the moment or something like that is opening up kind of some new ideas for that genre, and will no doubt spill into other genres as well. The Superman thing is a tricky one because we've had this whole superhero thing. You said about the death of the Western sort of in the 60s or whatever. And we've had the sort of, and the musicals in the 40s or whatever, but we've had that kind of thing going on with the superheroes now for a long time.
I think this is immune from that. Right?
I think this is the last throw of the dice.
It's be like, I think this is people who are going to have a fun experience. That's really
it's the last throw of the dice, and I think Marvel needs to
Marvel's done. Marvel can't do. Marvel is over.
Yeah,
well, I think that this way of marketing, Lee, that we're looking at the script on the screen now, which I think was probably about 5 or 6 years ago, getting a lot of people up on stage,
putting the horse before putting the cart before the horse. Yeah.
Well, announcing a dozen projects and all connected to this and all connected to that. I think people are over this as well, being overhyped, I suppose, overinflated,
oversaturated for sure. I mean, especially the franchise ones like Marvel and Star Wars and Star Trek and all of that sort of stuff. It's just got sort of overwhelming, and the amount of output has gone up, and the quality has gone way down.
And because the Marvel universe, cinematic universe, has geared towards the mass market, the general audience. You've lost a lot of the fan book, the comic book types who want to see,
who would have backed it all to the hilt.
No, they've lost the main audience is who they've lost.
And now they've lost the main audience, exactly. But then where do you go? So that's the problem. And I think as well, they focus way too much on very obscure characters rather than getting their main characters right.
Well,
initially out of panic, they went for the only people who would be seen to be supporting them through thick and thin. Because it wasn't even related to what was on screen, it was to the ideological people, the NPCs, the SJWs, whatever you want to call them. They relied on them, but now they've sort of moved on too, because they've already, you know what it's like. Once this sort of flock, once they've ruined something, they put it down and then they move on to ruin something else. And I think that the big studios may have they've realised that way too late, haven't they? They're out of
the other thing was sort of, to your initial point about all of this, about sort of jumping on trends and stuff like that. The thing I've always thought is really suffered for a lot of franchises is, because of the success of those early 3 phases or whatever of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, everything now wants a multimedia cinematic universe, right? Well, in the terms of the comics, you're talking about dozens, if not hundreds of characters. So it works. But when you're talking about something like, what we talked about earlier, like James Bond, for example, James Bond is not an ensemble. James Bond is a central character surrounded by, supporting characters, allies, villains, love interests, etc. So
it's not an ensemble.
Well, you can always do 001, 002, 003, 004.
Yeah, although Dan, you're saying about things coming back. With Star Wars, which my neighbor today, who's a normie, I speak to him after synagogue and walking home, right? He was saying, I was saying that Star Wars is dead, and he was mortified. Like, no, so I think they could probably bring it back. But what they would need to do is that Star Wars show they wrote 60 episodes of
Underworld. Underworld.
Just have that as their TV. Well, have like a Game of Thrones style, big budget. Yeah,
especially as Ronald D. Moore wrote quite a few of them. They're
exactly.
Quality. But again, the problem with like the other two, like Star Wars and Star Trek, is they both got themselves sort of stuck in an era now, rather than sort of moving forward. They've all gone into this sort of interquel territory where it's set between this and that, and they've
that's what I was going to say. They should have the Underworld show as their TV thing, and for a movie, recast everyone. Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker, sequel to Return of the Jedi trilogy. Like everybody, get what's his name as Aaron Eckhart, was it, who played?
As Han Solo. I mean, is it too late?
Get him to play. Recast them.
If you want Star Wars to come back, I mean, whatever Catherine Kennedy said, there is an entire universe of fiction that has been written since the movies came out.
Exactly.
That you could always go back to.
Yeah.
And given what you were saying earlier on, Lee, about innovation and what the rabbi's just been saying, I mean, is it theoretically, if they could pick this up again, if they let enough sort of dust lie, is it possible they could, if need be, go back to George Lucas's original sequel plans? Which
I think Disney needs to sell Star Wars. I know they won't, but they really need to sell it to someone who actually can,
I mean, obviously, for the likes of us, we all know. For the likes of us, we all know what's in those Lucas's sequel trilogy because the stuff's been published. It's been. I don't know if it was leaked. I think that
it was out years ago.
But I think Lucas was upset, wasn't he, that they didn't use any of it, and so he started talking about it publicly. So
Kennedy
fans
did that on purpose.
actually put it all together. So we do have these kind of quasi breakdowns of the things that Lucas intended to happen, which we've got up on screen at the moment for people who want to see what the general gist of it. But potentially, there's no reason why this couldn't be gone back to, and you could just not mention anything else potentially.
I don't think so. Although this is my pessimistic, negative Nelly view of Star Wars. I think Star Wars might, other than that British show that I will not mention by name, I think Star Wars is by far the second most damaged brand. And I think Star Wars, it wasn't just the wokeness. It fell into oversaturation and mediocrity to the point where I think people are just sick of it. If you tried watching any Star Wars show outside of maybe the first two seasons of The Mandalorian, you're going to fall asleep, or like The Acolyte, you're just not going to believe what's on screen.
The problem with Star Wars now is that it's now inextricably linked to Disney. And because Disney itself as a brand is so tarnished, you have to separate the two. You have to uncook the pudding. You have to pull it apart, and you need to be able to hand it over to someone who is not Disney. So I think, look, they've done so much damage to the to their own brand, but to the Star Wars brand.
Every brand.
It will never recover. The smartest thing they can do is sell it off.
What I've been wondering about recently, because it's something that the rabbi's been talking about, and the output, come to think of it, of Apple, of their show Severance and various other sci-fi and fantasy ideas that they've been exploring, and here and there too, I've noticed that there are some harder sci-fi productions that are coming in. And earlier on I talked a little about the idea of 1970s thrillers and horrors. What was that series that you mentioned, Chris? The Conjuring. So all that sort of made a comeback. Could that kind of more literate science fiction that was popularized in the 70s, like the Omega Man, Logan's Run, could that be something that comes around? And of course, Star Wars kind of came in at the tail end of that, the original, the proper Star Wars.
All good sci-fi now. Silo, for example, I think Silo is by far the best sci-fi show on.
Well, Star Wars is basically a Western in space. Like me personally, I would love to see. Like I always use the example of the Amityville Horror, which is one of my favorite horror movies, and so many people hate it because there's no jump scares and nothing actually scary happens. No, the movies that I think are genuine horror, the best horror, is one that creates an atmosphere that unsettles you, and I think Amityville Horror does that. The first two Conjuring movies do that. The first two Insidious movies do that. Like in Insidious, especially the first one of the brilliant things about this movie is there are scary things happening off in the corner of the screen, various things appearing that they don't even acknowledge. I love that kind of stuff, but the problem is I don't think today's audience with the attention spans, they want their jump scares, they want that. They're not able to sort of, maybe their brains just can't sense something scary unless it's happening right in front of them.
Some of this down to the ambition and the sensitivities and the creativity of individual filmmakers.
I think it's a mix of things, Dan. And I think to make something that's genuinely horror, you need like a John Carpenter or a Wes Craven, somebody who understands this and a well above average filmmaker.
Speaking of John Carpenter,
yeah, it was him.
But are they doing a prequel to that, like leading into the dog?
They did back around 2010.
Oh, it did. Oh, there you go.
It was awful. Do not watch it. It was dog shit.
Chris, when I think about when you were talking about like unsettling movies, I know this is kind of like sci-fi horror too. I think one of the most successful ones was, Dan was just speaking about the 70s, was the 78 remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I think that was incredibly effective. I think with probably the best last scene in
the dog with the human head. Oh
yeah, that was extraordinarily about the paranoia, really well acted. It came out at the right time. That was a brilliant film.
Great. Well, I'll give you two examples from two different decades. Oh, sorry, Dan. I'll talk quick, but two examples of what I think is in terms of it creates an atmosphere, but it creates a brilliant story. The first, A Nightmare on Elm Street, I think is not only one of the best horror movies, if not the best horror movie ever made, but one of the best movies ever made in history. It's one of maybe about 5 or 6 movies that to this day I find genuinely unsettling. And it's not just, even though it has some of the best kill sequences in history, specifically with the way the character of Freddy is directed and portrayed by Robert Englund in that movie is one of the most genuinely terrifying things you will ever see on film. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Like that. I
haven't seen it in a long time.
It's even to this day, it genuinely freaks me out.
Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah, and Johnny Depp, you won't want to be watching TV on your stomach after you watch that. But another example, and people shit on this movie all the time, and it pisses me off. But then it says that you don't really understand what's horror. Another one of the most genuinely terrifying movies, and this is also sci-fi, and people either love this movie or they hate it, is Event Horizon.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
I like Event Horizon.
And that one, you notice there's very little, jump scares or terrifying stuff that happens on screen. That whole thing, especially when they're on the Event Horizon, is about creating a sense of dread. And it's something that that movie is so brilliantly made, you can't even quite pinpoint what it is because it's so subtle, but it's absolutely terrifying. And in terms of your real horror, because the original cut of that movie was deemed too graphic for TV, so there are pictures where you see like quick screen grabs and freeze frames, any of those, you'll be seeing them in your nightmares for years. But that's all you see of the actual scary stuff that happens. The question is, what the hell happened on this ship? And everything down to the way the ship is designed is like nobody in their right mind would design a ship that looks like that, because you give your entire crew nightmares. But it's like everything down to the design of the ship, to the sounds, to the lighting, everything is absolutely pitch perfect. And that, and a movie like the Amityville Horror, that's what I love in horror. I like things I can name on one hand films that actually genuinely scare me. It's Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, Event Horizon, Threads is probably the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. But it's
depressing as hell.
But A24 has become close to that, and I think I talked about sort of I think it was a troll that A24 did deliberately a few years ago, the movie called Men, where I think even in the in the way they marketed it, I think they misdirected you to think it was a woke movie. If you watch it, it's genuinely unsettling. And the ending is something I'm like, I won't spoil it, and I probably couldn't, because even I can't quite describe exactly what's going on there. But the ending is one of the I'll say strangest things you will ever see. And then I remember a few years ago after I watched it, posting on, I'm like, oh, so was the killer a white man? And my response was, no, I have no idea what the hell that was. Go watch it for yourself. Whereas I think the days of like jump scares, make it just go away. Black Christmas, Truth or Dare, what they did to the Halloween films, pretty much most of Blumhouse's big budget content over the past few years, make that go away. Give me scary horror again, because they don't require a high budget, and A24 makes everything on a very low budget. Everyone except for one is profitable and does very well. And the one that did bomb because it starred Rachel Zegler. So
there was some really good jump scares that I liked in the Don't Be Afraid of the Dark remake. Del Toro.
That was really 2012.
10.
When we talked about Marvel stuff, Lee, I mean, how inflated things have got, and in terms of budget and oversaturation, overladen, and all these things, and given what Chris has just said there about smaller budget stuff, and now you've got we're in a situation where there's been successful entries in both the Predator and the Alien series, which were made on really quite small budgets compared to anything that they would have tried 10 years ago. You think maybe that is going to, if it's not going to encourage people to make brave, creative choices initially, at least it's they're taking it down so that they're, in a time where fewer people are going to the cinema, which is largely their own fault for because of pricing, because of marketing, and because of, I think it's the kind of
from making woke shit for 10 years.
Yeah, it's the cycle that they got in, self-perpetuating situation. Yeah, that fewer people have gone to the cinema because of their own actions. But
Hollywood would make
that
so
cycle,
much more money if they just did low budget. Because the more constrained a director is or a production is, the more the creativity shines through, and that's something that they seem to have totally forgotten. You don't just throw money at something and that will make it better. That's the exact opposite. Like we've seen
that was the strategy before. It was the strategy. Well, it still is with some of them right up to the present day.
Where Rebel Moon comes from. Rebel Moon is inexplicable. I really tried to like that movie or those movies. I saw the extended cut.
I lasted 10 minutes, Rabbi.
Oh man, I hope there must be something good there. I like Zack Snyder. I like that.
I think generally speaking, though, Rabbi, I think that the opening up of movies, of feature-length storytelling through Netflix and Amazon in particular, with their own sort of movies, has been a freeing experience. Even though Zack Snyder was very much overindulged with that, some of the people who've gone to make movies on those platforms and other platforms have been able to sort of to scratch itches that maybe wouldn't have got in cinemas at that time, and it could have played a part in opening up some of this. But what I also notice as well, though, is that, of course, younger people are more likely to sit and stream than go to the cinema. The drop-off of young people choosing to go to the cinema both to be entertained and as a social experience, something to do with their friends or a place to take a date, I don't think that's a coincidence either. And so what concerns me a little. I mean, fortunately, most of my kids now are above that age. But what concerns me, what I think is a shame, is that younger people have been encouraged to leave the cinema. Do you know what I'm saying, Rabbi? By the fact they stopped catering to
society. They've been encouraged to like isolate. They love COVID. What are you talking about? I mean, they wanted COVID to go on forever. They've been encouraged not to, because I guess because of social media, right? And you know, it didn't work out well. I think
kids don't go out and play anymore. You know, it's very you don't see kids going out to the park to play football or anything.
I seldom even see a child on a bike, Lee.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids where I live. I don't see that at all. I think it's very sad because the things that we love doing, like when I was a kid, you know, I'm tail end of Gen X. When we were kids, like in the summer, we were never inside. We weren't allowed to be inside. You're outside. You had your imagination, which kids don't have anymore. You know, most kids were only allowed to watch, you know, maybe an hour of TV a day, and then you go read a book or play with your toys or whatever. And I think the death of cinema, the death of, you know, wide scale cinema, big budget blockbuster cinema, I think that's over, partially because of the kids, partially because it's all been crap for a good decade now, aside from the, you know, phase 3 MCU movies were kind of the last of that big budget stuff. So I think that's all over. What I would like, because I think there are, you know, there are some, they're definitely in the minority, but there are some young people, you know, because I spent a lot of time watching other big and small YouTubers talk about film. I will never comment on them because of the name that I have. I don't want people pouncing on their channel, but there are many of them I watch. And some are younger folks, you know, there are some teenagers, some, you know, people in their 20s that are discovering physical media. They're discovering, you know, good horror, good action, good whatever movies before the era of hell. But the problem is they're in the slim minority. When I look
I don't know, because I think there was some mentioning somewhere, I can't remember where, but there was a study done somewhere that it showed that Gen Z are more into watching older films and TV shows than ever
that's
before.
a new phenomenon. Well, and the reason, well, the reason for that is when you're
videos.
the VHS thing has always been a bit head scratching, but in terms of the media, I can kind of see that, and it's younger Zoomers and I think older Gen Alpha fall into this because they were raised in the era of complete crap.
Yeah,
like,
and being told that they're evil people because they're white and they're male or something.
that and just the terrible media we've had for the most part going on about a decade now. It's the same thing, and there's a similar trend with music as well, where the stuff that was being pushed to them was just terrible, and then they'll watch something from the 80s, 90s, you know, real film when it was good, and they're like, holy crap, this is awesome. But the same thing with music. I couldn't name any of the artists that are common now, and I won't want to, but I've heard their music and it's all computer generated shit. But a lot of these kids, as soon as you discover something before the days of grid mapping and auto tuning, which brings you back to 1999 and earlier, you listen to something from the 80s, you know, where it was genuine non-auto tune singing, genuine people writing their own stuff, they're blown away by it. It's like
all it takes is giving the audience what they want objectively, whether it's, you know, good, bad, whatever, as long as it's what they want. That's why Minecraft, which is opening in the US this weekend, is going to be making upward of $150 million in its opening
do well, really?
So I mean, everybody was saying, oh, this is
the audience
do
for it is potentially huge.
50 to 60 million. They're anticipating 140, 150 million or higher. And supposedly the theaters are packed out with a lot of kids who are loving it, which is great for the theaters.
My stepdaughter can't wait to see that
I
film.
mean, it's great for the theaters.
Really? That's wild.
Yeah. this is going to be
She's really
a phenomenon. They said they have no idea what to predict anymore for this movie because
movie for that generation.
they're saying this could make up to $155 million this weekend. So it's just about giving people what they want. Yeah, people can say, well, Minecraft, it's a terrible movie, whatever. That doesn't matter if people are making $150 million.
This is why kids need to go outside. This is why they need to go outside. If you haven't had a tetanus shot by the age of 7, you're not playing a kid right.
I mean, people said that about the Twilight films. A moment ago, you mentioned like reading and things like that. And it doesn't seem that long ago since the Twilight movies were getting people into cinemas. But more to the point, I suppose, we're riding off the back of a resurgence of popularity in reading in younger people. Same with the Hunger Games books and films. They did very well and led through to other such properties. The Maze Runner movies, they were originally a line of books as well, weren't they? Same with Ender's Game. I think the sci-fi movie. I imagine they wanted to make a set of them. I don't think it did too well, though. But the principle is the same. The Divergent stuff that you mentioned earlier on, Chris, all of this was a movement of itself, which fed in and out of reading, and I suppose in the same way that.
Well, you're forgetting Harry Potter as well.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Anybody remember what it was like when a new Harry Potter book came out? I don't think we can do that now. I think the books were bigger than the films in terms of release.
And
I did wonder were they trying to
James Bond thing as well. Was it Alex Rider?
Alex Rider, yeah, they've. I think that's done quite well. They've done a TV series version of that, which they're about 3 seasons in. I think that's done a lot better there.
Oh, what's the name? Doctor Who writer, Andy Lane's series, Young Sherlock Holmes.
Of Young Sherlock Holmes, yeah,
that's being done by Guy Ritchie right now.
Looks fabulous. I think we talked about it a few weeks ago. We got some very early pictures from it.
Kind of like Guy Ritchie, Sherlock Holmes vibe. Speaking of Guy Ritchie, big recommend. Well, I'm not sure we're talking about before we started. Mobland. He's the director and producer of the first episode. I'm
going to watch it.
Freaking awesome. It's so good. It's Tom Hardy and Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, Paddy Considine. It's an incredible cast.
Pierce Brosnan in the ads sold me. I'm like, just that you mess with my family, you better pray. And just the way he says it, and then they show him, like, okay, I got to see this for Brosnan alone.
Yeah. I know that Guy Ritchie kind of got sucked into that machine a little. He made a couple of movies for Disney and other people, or at least his name is on them. I'm very unsure about how much of them he actually shot. But you've got people like Guy Ritchie, people like Stephen Knight, several sort of key people who the stuff that they do, I wouldn't say that everything they touch turns to gold, but everything they touch promotes an interesting response, Keith, from audiences and from the greater media too. Do you think that, I'm not necessarily saying that they should create stuff that's exclusively aimed at children, but maybe guys like that who are either, because Stephen Knight's setting up a studio not far from me, funnily enough, in Digworth, but people like this are moving into key positions to make real waves, not just domestically, but internationally as well. Could their fondness, their belief in cinema actually really sort of take this up another level? Because they're not alone, are they? I know there's smaller people involved too, smaller names.
Yeah, I mean, I the trouble is, you asked me about this, and obviously I am definitely pro the theatrical experience with everything. So I always have been, and obviously, like last night, I went to see A Working Man. The Jason Statham.
Oh, how was that?
Film. Really, I mean, you know what you're going to get, and it's not high art or anything, but it's hugely entertaining and enjoyable. You know what I mean?
It's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be entertaining.
Yeah, but it was actually it was actually surprising. I mean, it wasn't a massive cinema. It's one of these Odeon cinemas, which is kind of, got big recliner seats and all of that sort of stuff. They're trying to sell the sort of experience.
I like those.
Malarkey, but it had Dolby Atmos cinema, not a massive cinema, but it was full. There was a lot of people watching it, and I was like, oh wow, this is cool for a Friday night. See? And Jason Statham, apparently the cinema next door, which had Snow White in it, was empty.
I'll say no more.
But yeah, to answer your question, Dan, I think, you know, those kind of filmmakers, you know, like you mentioned, the Guy Ritchie's, the old school film guys. Yeah, why not start creating stuff that the problem the film industry has got is everything now ends up having a $300 million budget.
Yes,
exactly.
That's why the success of Alien Romulus is it's interesting. I do wonder if moments like that are taking us somewhere to address that.
Well, one thing that I would like in terms of films, and I think the insane budgets are part of this. The price of going to the film is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I remember the last time I went, I paid like my goddamn, I think it was like $28 for the ticket. I bought a hot dog, which cost me like $15. I always get my big ass pop because that's kind of my tradition. That was like another 10. What I want to go back to is what we had in the 90s. No, like everybody had, you know, your little downtown theaters where these small 2-screen theaters. For the chairs be more comfortable because I'm old now. But that I even if cinema becomes a niche thing, kind of like the vinyl thing, where you have your small original movies, you can watch it on streaming, but you can have a small theater with reasonable prices. Where you could probably make a profit, even if it's niche, because there's always people that are going to want to go see it. I want to go back to that. I don't want my $12 shriveled up rotten hot dog and my $30 film ticket and my like $50 whatever big ass pop. I don't want that. I don't want my entire entertainment budget for the month to go to one goddamn movie at a Cineplex. Give me like $10 for the movie. Okay, that's fair. In the 90s,
couple of quid to feed your face. Just in the 90s.
I do want to ask Keith though. Keith, when you went to Working Man, did they have like the limited edition popcorn buckets like in Jason Statham's head or something?
Funny enough, no.
No, they didn't. Oh shoot. Okay.
No,
Workman's hard hat bucket.
They're really missing a trick with that. I mean, this did really well.
Deep beneath the Gotham City McDonald's, the time has come for the Gotham Glassware Collection. Get all your favorite characters from the movie Batman Forever, including Batman himself and the Riddler, chiseled in high-quality glass. Take a break at McDonald's and collect all 4, just 99 cents each when you buy any McDonald's extra value meal or any other food purchase.
Here you are, sir. Batman. Now I've got him!
Novelty glassware could be the way forward to promote a huge movie 30 years.
I remember that. I remember Batman Forever being... Batman Forever merchandise was everywhere. Yeah, and I think that was because Batman Returns just couldn't sell toys because it was just too dark for little kiddies.
I'd want a mug. I'd want a mug in the shape of Nicole Kidman.
Pizza Hut does Star Trek Next Generation. You have these cups. And one had like a little phaser on it, and another one had a little bird of prey. Another one had a little Klingon warbird.
It's all in landfill now. That's the problem. That's right. Or it's in the bottom of the ocean.
The fortune, get you digging out. You know, go and get some spades, dig it out.
Plastic footprint or whatever they call it. Yeah.
Well, Dan, if you spot those like at a car boot sale, if somebody's selling those mugs, Dan, you need to buy them.
Yeah,
I probably would.
It's like anything from what's the name? What's the Star Wars land in Disney? They
Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. Oh, they just reintroduced Luke Skywalker to there. It's doing a huge.
I saw that.
Yeah,
and that's really the way to do it. Maybe need to build a new franchise around Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, the whole thing has been so badly managed.
You just need to flush everything.
It's just like,
and then just do a special explaining how you flush it. Who cares?
You need the will to change it, and with KK still in charge,
it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's incredible, amazing.
Times could be changing again, gentlemen. Even if we may have a bit of time to wait out, I think a lot of it is down to because we have had the odd unprecedented political edition of this show in the last few weeks, born out of necessity, I think, and in some cases, genuine excitement. And certainly,
not from a Canadian perspective.
but what I was thinking of was, again, I keep coming back to the 1970s, and I think that a lot of those science fiction movies that came out then, and maybe some of the thrillers too, the psychological thrillers and the corporate thrillers as well, were born out of a time where people were really, really unhappy, and where they used film in a really creative way, not necessarily an ideological way, but in an investigative way, in an exposing way, and yet still in an entertaining way as well. And I do wonder if we are within sort of sniffing distance of some of those things happening again.
It was an experimental era, which is,
was that down to a rise in independence as well, Keith? Of people like Coppola?
Yeah, it was a move away from the studio system for sure, but it was when they were taking chances on young new filmmakers. But as I said, I think the issue with that nowadays is just because of the constantly increasing budgets of everything. It's just gone
again. They should be going
crazy.
There's going to be some TV producers going to be held as a genius for a streaming network when he brings back the idea of making TV shows that are like they did in the 1990s, 22 episodes a year, 44 minutes long each, made to a reasonably small budget, right? And like that's what everybody watches on Netflix, and on Disney Plus, those shows, right? Just
Seth
do that.
Seth MacFarlane was kind of part of the way there with his original concept for the Orville, wasn't he? Obviously, that's just one example of a sci-fi.
Well, it breaks my heart when I see a show go work that way.
I mean, and Dan, you look at the original Rollerball, Dan, which is what you're talking about from the 70s. It was an indictment of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And they're not doing that anymore.
Obviously, we need visionaries. We need to be restocked with visionaries. Not sure where they're coming from. Maybe they're coming from parallel media, like I was going to say comics. Forget that. But maybe they could come from literature. I don't know, or simply from independent studio setups. Who's to say? We've got some comments here in the live chat, sparked by various things that we've touched on this conversation. Lord Thoth says he enjoyed the first few. They were okay. First few Maze Runner films, but again, a line of films from a very particular time. Who else has joined?
I think that they're actually quite good. I
like them.
Because I have this. Right now I'm kind of fascinated by the young adult genre because it wasn't made for me. Oh, there's a word. But I never watched them when they were out. But now it's like they're like a fascinating time capsule of what I'm calling the lost.
Well, Chris, even though they were aimed at a different generation, a younger generation, a less sophisticated generation, some would argue. I've never necessarily sort of subscribed to that myself. Watching those movies, though, those were the last sci-fi movies I can remember watching where I was watching them and I wasn't second guessing, oh, this is going to happen. Oh, he's going to die. That's going to do that. And maybe it's because a lot of them were derived from books, people outside of cinema, so not written to a cinematic formula. But
what was that Danny Boyle horror? Was it a horror movie where it's like the sun? They had to go to the sun to reignite it.
Oh, sunshine or sunlight.
Yeah. No, that was. Now, is that a horror movie? I can't really tell. It kind of went horror towards the end.
More like a psychological thriller, I guess.
It's usually classified as horror, but yeah, close to what Lee said.
Even though it's set in space, I do sort of agree. Lord Thoth has confessed he has a soft spot for Lower Decks as a cartoon. We won't tell a soul, mate. We won't tell a soul.
Get out. I refuse. I haven't watched it, but I've had several people tell me it's not that bad. I don't know.
It is.
I don't know if I don't think I'll ever watch it.
Oh God, it's so grating. You hate the main character. She's an awful human being.
See, I hated based on what I've seen from her, that's why I won't watch it. But I've had many people say, check out Lower Decks. It's not that bad. No, if you like it, that's fine. But I've seen the clips of the character. I don't want to be.
It's like
subjected to 5
you
years
know,
of that.
if someone's putting a fist up your ass, it's really bad. But if they're only putting 2 fingers up your ass, it's not so bad. It's kind of nice. You know, that's lower decks.
Darren M is in with the figures for Minecraft. Friday take for that was 58 million.
One day.
Wow.
What was it for
Shit,
Snow
we're
White
gonna,
on that
no,
day?
we got no. That's it. There's no hope. We're not going to get anything good ever again.
Well, here's the bad with Minecraft. That's going to make Jack Black relevant again, isn't it?
Oh fuck no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
Please no!
Did you think they made an action figure out of him? And it's just like someone did a meme about that's just what the kids are looking for—a middle-aged fat white guy.
It means we're going to get a lot more.
strange,
It
isn't it?
means we're going to get a lot more comedies starring Jason Momoa.
Kess the Drone is watching on YouTube and suggests that many countries had thriving film industries, but America pays their talent buckets full to work in Hollywood, then ruin their career, and then destroy the independence. Is that cycle? Could that be broken now? Though I mean, Hollywood does seem to have.
When Hollywood goes broke, yes.
Yeah,
it seems to be most of the way there. It's certainly bankrupt of ideas.
Yep.
Yep.
It has to change. It has to strip back. It has to reevaluate itself. The only way Hollywood will survive is a bit of self-awareness at this point, because
No, good luck there.
Good luck.
they really, really need to do a little bit of soul search. I know they sold their souls, but they need to reclaim those souls and really analyze
They
what
won't.
they are doing culturally.
They need to geographically move all production the hell away
Texas.
from California,
Yeah.
and that will help. Never make a movie in Hollywood again.
Yeah.
You think Steven
Burn
Spielberg
Hollywood.
and those sort of... I mean, I know that Spielberg's pushing 80 now, but do you think that his generation, they still believe in... Could they prop it up, or do they know that the writing's on the wall now? What was Spielberg's last film? Was that his biopic about his family?
West
or was he
Side
made one
Story,
since-
wasn't it?
West Side Story. Was that after that?
Well, remember Coppola's comeback?
Oh, my God.
Oh,
Megalopolopolis. Oh.
Sounds like a Greek restaurant.
Me being the only person on the entire panel that suffered through the entire movie. Thank you.
No, I did. I saw the whole
that's
thing.
right, you did. Yeah, I blamed you for that.
Oh my god, awful! And with what's the name? The incredibly hot woman, looking incredibly hot. The from Game of Thrones.
Oh,
Natalie Emmanuel.
that's
right?
it. Yeah.
Okay, so this was the hottest I've ever seen, and she's insanely hot, and even that couldn't detract the awfulness that was Megalopolis.
Although
I did
John
not
Voight
see
is
it,
the strangest performance I've ever seen. If you've seen any of the clips of John Voight, that movie,
It's incomprehensible.
yep.
It's indecipherable. It's shit. It really is genuinely shit.
It's the worst thing I've seen this year so far by a
It's the
country
worst thing
mile.
I've seen ever.
Did he meet up with RTD and get some tips? What happened?
No, it's just it's like it's pompous and it thinks
Oh,
it's
definitely
really
met with
being
RTD
clever.
then.
It lasts
And
about 3.5 hours as well.
3.5 hours of utter boredom and nonsensical. Like sometimes the rules of the universe change for Adam Driver, but we don't know why. And the rules of the universe are weird. It's like New York is a province of Rome.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like whatever. Oh god! And again, he thinks it's profound, but it's just shit.
Let's not forget the Aubrey Plaza Shia LaBeouf anti-wow sex scene.
Oh my God. Everything about that film was absolutely shot. I think he was trying to expand our horizons and to expand his own legend, and really just made it go to the
When you
toilet.
watch it, do you think you're supposed to drop acid when you watch it, and then it'll make sense?
Only if I would say.
I don't know. You might have a bad trip.
To come with some sort of discount voucher. for substances of,
And let's
of an
not
illegal
forget
nature.
the color correction. It literally looks like somebody peed on the negative, so that's exciting.
Oh, D's definitely met with RTD then, yeah.
I had forgotten about all of that. I mean, I'm not sure if we've come up with any answers on this edition of the show. What a fabulous long form discussion, everybody! Thank you so much for bringing it to us in the first place, Chris, and for everybody who's contributed there on the panel and in the comments as well. I think people seem to be talking more about Star Trek, but you do you. Yeah. I think we're part way to getting somewhere, whatever the next thing is going to be. And I'm certainly watching with interest as bit by bit, are people getting more excited about cinema again on the strength of stuff like Smile, like Lee was talking about, on stuff like Minecraft, even things like Wicked. I never had any doubt that Wicked was going to be huge, but it got a lot of people in the cinema, and it got a lot of people going back to see it time and time and time and time again, which is the kind of thing that they used to have. Actually, the last film that probably had that effect was likely The Force Awakens. People went to see that multiple times, didn't they?
Yeah.
All I know is that I'm looking forward to getting my Pedro Pascal popcorn bucket for Fantastic Four.
Oh God, I'm so not looking forward to Pedro Pascal.
Everything
a big
head
about
that movie.
A big Pedro Pascal head that I can eat popcorn out of.
I'll be
well, it's empty enough.
Maybe we'll get the Spacebook Live ones instead. I think that could be a better punt.
Got any dirty videos? Bet you haven't seen this. The Scotch Video Head Cleaner. It cleans up dirty pictures caused by dirty video recording heads. Oh, glory. Look at that bone structure.
God, I miss the 80s.
Me too, mate. Me too. Yeah. Does it all make sense now? Probably not. But I think we've helped. We've helped. Every little helps, and we'd like to do as little as possible. Yeah, on the Spacebook Live on your Saturday night. So yes, on Rumble and X from 8 p.m. Saturdays. This one wraps up this latest season, though. We've had a fabulous time playing silly buggers, or just playing with our space hoppers, both literal and figurative, intellectual space hoppers here. And thank you again to everybody who's indulged us there in the live chat on YouTube and Rumble. Indulged all of this nonsense. We can't thank you enough. And for all the recommendations too, for further reading, for further viewing, more likely, and to help us bolster our collections and take up even more shelf space. We will be back to talk more physical media in particular in the future, I have no doubt. Until then, please keep an eye out for us on YouTube and on Rumble. You can hit up the playlists for early editions of the show as well, particularly here on the Spacebook channel. So in the latest sort of phase of the show, because every time I've sort of brought it back, it's felt a little different, looked a little different, and we do like to try different things, combinations of ideas, and just different conversations really that you may not necessarily find anywhere else, such as tonight's conversation on the lost era of cinema. But that does round it all off this time. Another week in Geek and a whole season of the Spacebook Live sort of burnt up. Are we burnt out though? Rabbi, are you burnt out? You're still with us,
yes,
mate?
I'm going to bed. I'm pretty crackered. I really am burnt out. I'm trying. So so next week for next 8 weeks you're doing Doctor Who, right?
I'm afraid it's on its way. Yeah, the pop culture boulder that is Doctor Who is on its way for the majority of us. I know that that doesn't include Keith, but yes, it's coming, everybody, and you can only outrun it for so long. So yes,
again, I'm really annoyed because it's a Jewish holiday next Saturday night, so I'm going to only review.
I will be spending next weekend in hell. Getting a video ready for the review.
I know his new assistant, by the way, or companion, or whatever they're called nowadays. I know her from BAFTA, so
she's nice.
You know Verada Seyfried.
She's very fit.
Yes.
She is very hot. I
mean, my God.
She mentioned Doctor Who, and I said to her, I have no idea about Doctor Who. other than what used to show in the 80s.
Keith Dan's in shock.
And what's her phone number?
Keith, I am speechless. This woman is a goddess.
Yeah,
Please tell her.
Oh yeah, she's very loved up, by the way. So yeah.
Oh, fuck.
What?
Please tell her that I think she's absolutely wonderful and wish her all the best. Because this is it.
Check out my thumbnails. I do fantastic AI thumbnails with her in them.
I'm not sure I want to see.
Keith,
that's so funny.
I suddenly feel very uncomfortable.
Keith, can you get her on the next Spacebook?
There you go. You never know. You never know. Yes. So Type 40 Live, of course, for all the Doctor Who conversation, going up a gear next week. So don't miss that over on the Type 40 channel, YouTube and Rumble, and the podcast too. We'll have a lot of fun. Don't you worry about that. The Spacebook Live itself will be back in due course. Don't fret. We'll sort of restock after the Who has hit. So again, thank you everybody. I'm still reeling from that one, Keith. You kept that one. You kept that to yourself. I'm still rather reeling from that. I've been ogling this woman for months. Yes.
I'm not a Doctor Who guy, so
he's not a Doctor Who guy.
About it.
It's still hot, even if he wasn't in Doctor Who.
I used to be.
No, absolutely. And you know what's really interesting? She's a total sci-fi geek, because I met her at a screening of that John Williams film, and I had to sit next to her, and she knew. And I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "You're into all of this as well." And she goes, "Oh my God, yeah, it's so good." So
does she have a twin sister?
Oh man,
I wish.
I feel so bad for her. She's in this real dud failure era of Doctor Who. She's a great actress. She's been in an episode already, and she was one of the best things in it. But and she really was. She's genuinely very, very good.
Yeah, she was great in that. Yeah,
she's upset the media a bit, though, hasn't she?
She's just in it at a really shit time. I feel terrible for her.
I think she's upset the media or something this week, right? I mean, I don't.
She said some very silly things, but they're silly things that I would expect. And for anybody, so yes, I shall be doing a video which will take all of next weekend. I will be in absolute hell. This is going to be horrific. But I promised I would do it, and I'm kind of regretting my promise. I cannot promise that I'll be making a video for every episode this year, because I don't think I can put myself through that for another 8 weeks in a row.
Oh, sure.
We'll see.
You're going to come and share your opinions with us on Type 40 Live afterwards. We're doing live shows if you want to.
I was going to cover that. I will. I probably, because literally it takes me an entire weekend to put one of these videos together. So, but I don't know if I'll be doing the full 2-hour streams, but I will be stopping by, probably in a very bad mood. Probably with no voice if it's on the day that I recorded my voiceover for these videos. So I hope y'all appreciate what I do for you, because after last year I said I was never going to do this again, and somehow I'm here doing this again, and it's going to suck.
We'll keep it as quick and painless as possible.
If you have me, I might drop in as well. I'm planning on doing my review, and then but I can come straight from that to you.
That's the idea, everybody. So I was going to talk about this. We'll be talking about this on Type 40 on Monday. So it'll be the same but different. So it'll be the show that everybody out there, all the Doctor Who people, that everybody out there likes, enjoys, and interacts with in a slightly different kind of way. So if you saw myself and Gary and John and Anthony talking late last year, about the War Games in colour, it'll be a more instantaneous reaction show, and it'll pretty much be an open house as well. So anyone could practically turn up within, rather say there's more than welcome, but anybody could turn up here from the world of podcasting, from YouTube, and anything like that. So,
one other thing, I gotta bring up his. Just give me a sec here. Where are we? Okay, yeah. So they've come up with a new way to torture Frank, which we'll be getting updates on. They're gonna force him to watch this season of Doctor Who on a loop. So you can see Frank in the corner right there. He's very, very excited about that.
No one can get through that.
No.
So everybody pray for Frank. He'll be giving his thoughts too.
Our prayers are always with Frank.
For the whole generation.
And our gratitude to you as well, Chris, for your company throughout the season, for bringing the PSAs, of course, for bringing your insights into all things home media and across various genres across the decades as well. Greatly appreciated, mate.
Thanks, dude.
And we
This
do
has
hope
been,
you.
This has been fun. I like discussing things that aren't that other thing. This has been great, Dan. And yeah, I've got. There's still more PSAs. Some will terrify you. I've got some that will depress you, and some that will just downright confound you. So, spoilers.
Lucy Meow is asking where is Amnesty International. Well, they're probably blaming Israel for something.
They're blaming Israel, yes, exactly. You Jews, how dare you survive?
Oh my word. Yeah, there'll be lots more coming. Politics. Of course there will. But in the meantime, please keep engaged with us through our social medias. This is where we do the sort of round the houses. So everybody, where are you? Where can people find you? First of all, you, Keith. Keith, you don't really do X, do you? You more Instagram, is it?
Yeah. I mean, home media minefield, obviously, YouTube, of course, Instagram, Facebook, all of that sort of stuff. That's for the physical media stuff. And then I've got British Isles, EYLES, as in my last name, which has more of my creative work on, some of my short films and stuff. And funny enough, I'm about to put a video on both channels at the moment because I am running the London Marathon for cancer research in a few weeks' time. So I've put a video out. It's going to have a link. It's going to go live tonight. It's going to have a link. Obviously, I'm trying to raise funds for Cancer Research UK. So yeah, if you want to know more about that, have a look at the video and follow the links. They'll be live probably by midnight tonight. I've edited them. I've just got to put them on. So that's
well, mate, we'll put a link in the description. And
thank you.
We'll put a link in the description. And so I've done the halves. I've never done the full marathon. We'll put a link in the description and we'll plug it on Type 40 Live as well for you. We'll make sure as many people get the links to that as possible. Cheers for your company, Keith.
I'm far from ready for it. This year I've had an injury and all sorts of stuff happen. So tomorrow I've got to attempt to run 25k, which obviously is only just over halfway, and see how I get on. So
I believe you can eat marathon bars. That will give you the energy to do it.
There you go. The clues in the name, right? The clues in the name.
I just want to help out, right? That's just me.
And if you want to see Keith as a totally scary bad guy, find Rebecca Gold. Go to Rebecca Gold.
Yeah, in fact, they put a scene up yesterday.
That one, isn't it? Weren't you?
What's that?
What's the other one? Last Day. Weren't you a bad guy in that as well?
Oh, Bad Day. Yeah, Bad Day's on Netflix, I believe. But yeah,
on Netflix. Awesome. I love that.
I think so. Funny enough, Ian did actually put out a scene on social media under Rebecca Gold's channel yesterday, and it's a scene that it features me. So I was like, oh. It's the first bit I've seen of season 2. So
being a bad guy.
Yeah. I'm being nasty as usual.
You're so sweet. That's the thing. You're like one of the sweetest, nicest people, and you always play these terrifying characters.
Well, I'd love it to get cast maybe as a non-terrifying character at some point. But
that's what's so great. I got to say this, Keith. Whenever I'm watching, Rebecca Gold, I don't look. When I see you there, I don't think, oh, but he's so different. He's really a nice guy. I think, no, this guy, I never think of you like you are now. I only think of you as this crazy, scary guy.
I would love to do, if I'd like a spare $100,000, I would love to do a version of Dan Dare with you.
Oh, yeah, you keep saying this.
With an AI filter.
I'll tell you,
very interesting with that.
I'll tell you a really quick, because I know we've got to end, true story, but this is true, and I didn't know whether to take it as a compliment or an insult. But I was in a feature film, like 15 years ago or whatever, independent one, went straight to video, called 10 Dead Men, and I was kind of like a lead villain in that as well, nasty piece of work. And there was a screening at an Odeon cinema. and I went to it, the cast and crew screening and stuff. And afterwards, I was talking to someone at the bar for about 45 minutes. And they actually said to me, "So, what was your involvement in this film?" And I went, "Really?"
It's really startling. It's really startling.
I was like, "Really?" Because and then he looked at when I explained. I said, "Oh, I played project manager," and he went, "Oh my God!"
Exactly. And then you see it, and it's like, "Oh my God, that's so weird." Well, you don't know unless you're told.
I didn't know whether that was a good thing or a bad thing.
I found out
it's a good thing, Keith. You're a superb actor, mate.
I'm never going to get. The thing is, this is why I've never got anywhere, because nobody recognises.
Well, we recognise you, mate. We know that you're worth your weight in gold. Thank you again for your company on this one. Same to you. Same to you, Rabbi, as ever. Thanks for staying up, and yeah, it's been great having you on this season. Cheers again, Lee. Great to have you back too. Of course, it is always good to catch up. Anyway, and to see what's been preying on your mind. We may be back with more Blake 7 talk in the near future on Teleport Now, so hope to see you for that, and as well as some Doctor Who talk as well. But I bet you're not. You're not watching it, are you? But we'll find something to talk about. But thank you for coming on anyway, mate. It's good to see you. And last but not least, Gary Akers, the retro doc, in his holiday shirt.
It's been such great fun to be with all of you guys. So I'm missing you all already.
Great to have you aboard, and to John Yulden, to Ian David Diaz, to Matt Pott, Z3PO, Mark as well. What's his second name? Can't remember. Isn't perfect prefect timing, Mark. The various other people that have come on and filled the guest spot, Culture Casino, and everyone else we've had on. Thank you, everyone who's been a part of it. That about covers it. Yeah, we're going off on a break. Off on a break, everybody. The flask is topped up. The sandwiches, they're going to be pretty shit. I hate to say it, but do the best I can. We'll see you out there somewhere, sometime next time. For those who've stayed with us on mission, sincerely, thank you. We'll see you when the Spacebook Live sets off again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers.